What up, lifers? Welcome to Doing Time, episode 9. We got Shar Elemental as our special guest. Shar hyphen Elemental.
That's right. Don't forget the hyphen.
Yeah, don't give the man his hyphen.
That's
We
right.
got Brutus Maximus from Raw Side Hip Hop joining the panel today, and Anthony Gonzalez, our esteemed Dosmo, Director of Social Media Operations. What's going on, Shar? How you doing?
I'm doing great. How about y'all?
Oh, loving life.
Okay. It's better than hating it.
Hell yeah. All right. So what you got going on lately? What's up with you?
Chilling right now, but just been working, man. Making music, putting in work. You've been kind of in the inner circle a little bit with that between me and Speak with the Scumlords project, and, all the Animal Embassy stuff we got going on right now coming up. So I got that coming up, and then I got Dastardly Grin 2 with Silly Grin coming up after that. So just been working, and then more as well. We'll get into as well.
Right. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
But it's shared over to the group and a couple other places. All right.
So how did you and Speak come together, actually?
Organically, really. It was just kind of like knew the same people type of thing. Social media, realizing we liked the same shit, we hated the same shit. So me and him clicked immediately, and then it was just like everything else just came naturally after that. We're like, yo, we should do a project. Fuck it. And then we just started working. And then everything grew from there pretty much.
That's dope. Yeah, it's that you guys have two very unique, different styles. So
yeah, different, but mesh well. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. It's like styles make fights,
No,
so
you guys got good chemistry. Always works well.
Brutus, I know you got some stuff lined up you want to ask Mr. Elemental. You want to go ahead and give it a shot?
Yeah, I've got some. It's interesting, Shar. So, you've got quite the record. You do a lot of work, you put in a lot of work, but it's always still fresh. It's always still stuff that we haven't heard before, and it's constantly like you're reinventing yourself. And I've been privy to a couple of little sound bites from some of the Scumlords, and that's a different vibe as well. So, do you want to just talk through some of that?
Yeah. Honestly, it's what it boils down to is I'm never satisfied as far as where I'm at, like stylistically, lyrically, beat selection wise, every aspect of it. I don't really feel like I'm ever, all right, I'm there. I never get that feeling. So it's like I'm just always building on what I've already done and just keep improving. And I honestly, if I didn't do that, I don't know if I'd still do it, because I listen to some of my old stuff and I'm like, wow, this is fucking horrible. But I listen to new stuff and I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get there. And I'm still not there yet. So I just hope to keep getting better and better. Like I can hear it when I listen to my older projects, and then I listen to like the newer stuff. It's just night and day to me. So I'm hoping it's like that to everybody else too.
I always appreciate an MC that's willing to evolve constantly. It's one thing I always look for when I'm thinking about what MCs I think are great. I always think about the MCs I've seen evolve over a long period of time. And those are the ones I end up really appreciating and consider to be legends. So that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And some people, it comes to them immediately. Like Nas, dude was nasty from 18 years old. Knew what he was doing. You know what I mean? Still is. But it's like some people, I didn't have people to show me how to do anything. So I had to just learn by listening and then trial and error. So it took me a long time to get to the point where I was like, all right, I even want people to hear this. Never mind everything else that comes with that. Right. So it's like you got to evolve, to me. Evolve or die.
Yeah, exactly.
Or get stagnant, like you said. I mean, you're just going to sound the same forever and make the same songs.
Yeah, and then you're only going to have about 10 to 15 people listening to you constantly, because they're going to be stuck and they're like, oh yeah, I like that style. But no one ever wants to get stuck.
But saying that, you should also kind of find your niche too, because you don't want to I feel like that was one thing I've always been searching for, is the sound, and then finally it clicked. I feel like I found what I should be doing, as opposed to trying to figure out what I should be doing. That's why,
Yeah.
if you notice, there's a lot of sounds I've dabbled in, like you said before.
Yeah, and I guess I really noticed it on the dichotomy. I thought that that album was, I think it was fantastic, and I'd be interested to hear your
Thank
take on, what one of your what was the project for you that sort of was, has, I guess, sort of jump started, when you really started to feel that click. Because for me, the dichotomy was one of those projects that was like, oh, we've got everything now. We've got the flow, we've got the delivery, we've got the bars, and it's all packaged up nice. You can feel the concept through it. Even in the artwork on the album. So I think there's moments like that in people's careers, and that for me, in yours, was one of those defining moments. But it's funny you say that, because you do need to find your niche, but then there's so many people that were like, oh, I wish Nas would just make another Illmatic. But Nas
Sure, but
isn't anymore. You know what I mean? So
listen, if he keeps dropping magics, I'll take those. You know what I mean? Like, I'm totally happy with that personally from him. But like, yeah, it's like for the dichotomy, that was, I basically recorded that and Dastardly Grin 2 almost at the same time. It was like I was trying to do Dastardly Grin and focus on that, but I had so many producers sending me dope stuff that I was like, oh my God, I have to rhyme on this stuff. And then it ended up where like that kind of got done first, essentially, because it happened. So I dropped that. But yeah, that's probably the one, to me anyway. That's where I'm going to always remember, like, all right, this is where I went where I want to go. Like, Figure 4 Ragnarok's cool to me. I like some of the content on there, but as well, I still feel like there's certain things on there where I'm like, I wish I could undo that, or I was like kind of reaching for a sound on this, but definitely on the dichotomy, it was like, all right, like, this is where I'm going. And then you'll see on Dastardly Grin 2 as well, it's definitely same like kind of vibe as far as that's concerned, but it's all silly beats, right. And he's a monster. So
yeah, he's just amazing.
Yeah, he's dope.
You put a lot of your references in your music with like nerd culture.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm a big nerd. If I could give you a tour, I mean, I got all kinds of nerd shit around me.
Yeah,
like
I love it.
Marvel, wrestling, Masters of the Universe, Transformers. I love all that shit.
Oh, yeah, no, I enjoyed catching the references when listening to your stuff.
Marvel or DC, pick one.
What was that?
Marvel or DC? You got to pick one.
I got to pick one?
Yep.
It's hard, but I'd probably have to go Marvel. Even though it's like a very slight edge, because I do love like Batman and like that whole side of the universe, and a lot of like the Elseworld stuff. And it's so hard. Honestly, I can't. If this was Drink Champs, I'd be drinking. Honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I can't pick. They're two different things, but both great in their own ways. And if we're talking movies necessarily, but overall brand.
If you're like movies and animation, I have an answer for either of those. But the comic books, that's too close to call.
Yeah. To me, it's like comics is like pretty much a tie.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got animation. I think DC's have been better
far
overall.
Beyond. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And then obviously movie-wise, Marvel kick their ass, but it's not that Flex fault.
Right.
No.
Those damn executives.
Yeah, definitely. Who do you identify with mostly, like in comics? Like one comic book character, who would you say that's me?
Spawn.
Really?
Yeah. That's always been my favorite. I don't know why. It was just like to me, it was like that art style and just the grime of it reminded me of like visually what I picture when I listen to Illmatic and shit for like New York. Like almost like the Warriors. When you watch that movie, it's like a
street feel to it.
Yeah, and it has this certain grime that's really hard to like manufacture and like really get to come across, and they just nailed it. And it's crazy. Like Greg Capullo, he ended up doing Batman later, a great run on Batman that has that same type of like grittiness to it, and it's dope. The art's crazy, but also just because like the character and like the whole crazy story behind him and whatnot, like
got a crazy backstory.
Yeah, getting trading his soul to be with his woman just to get screwed over, and then basically be a zombie, but with superpowers, but he only has so much, and then he dies, and it's just nuts. And then all the heaven versus hell shit. I don't even believe in that shit.
And his
I'm not religious at all, but I found all that whole storyline, like, it was amazing to me.
Yeah, no, I'm an atheist, but I find religious like lore so fascinating. I read up.
Yeah, I've studied a lot of it. Like, I got copies of the Quran and of the Bible and the Book of Mormon. I try to read all that stuff because, I mean, if you're gonna talk about a subject, you should probably, if you're gonna open your mouth, know what you're talking about to a certain extent, and be open to learning. I know that's a problem nowadays, but give it a shot.
If the internet didn't say it's true, it's not true. You know that.
Right. Well, you heard it here first. I said it's true.
Oh, okay. Well, we are on the internet, so.
Oh, shit. So,
fuck,
all right, forget what I said then.
Well,
don't believe anything you hear.
Either one. It's true or it's make-believe. Brutus, you got anything else?
Yeah, I got a few things. So, Scumlords, the name. I know you went back and forth. How did that come about?
Yeah, we went back and forth on that for a minute, and it ended up just kind of, he was like, what do you think about this? I'm like, I like it. He's like, me too. All right, that's what we're doing. It was pretty much that simple. We were just throwing tons of names back and forth. They were all mediocre, and we were like, all right, that's the one. It just clicked.
There seems to be a lot of that with you, Shar, is that a lot of things are just natural, organic. Nothing feels forced, and you can tell that with, you know, the beats you choose, your rhymes. You know, nothing seems manufactured or forced. And I just wanted to say that as a listener, you can really tell that authenticity. You can really feel that in the music, your music, and a lot of other artists too. But it is something that you do. As a listener and as a hip hop head, you really do notice when things are done for the sake of being done or done with a passion and an authenticity, and that's what comes across with your projects.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I try to not really embellish. You'll notice, like, if I talk about certain things, like, I get grimy as fuck, but like, you'll notice if you really break down what I'm saying, I'm never like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. It's always like presented in a certain way where it's more like a story, or like, never from my perspective. I'm always just the narrator, essentially. But like, I try to not be afraid of touching subjects either because of that. I think that was one thing that I had to learn for a long time. I was afraid to talk about certain shit because I'm like, oh, what are people going to think? Like, oh, it's this guy saying this or whatever, the white guy, blah, 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 whatever it could be, you know? And one day it was just like, you know what? I don't give a shit. Like, I'm going to talk about anything and whatever, if it's therapy through music, whatever. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, some people are afraid to like talk about certain things, like in the track The Ultimate Warrior off the Dichotomy. Like, that was the first time I ever talked about like even like selling drugs or anything like that, because that's not something I wanted to like really incorporate as part of my like image or whatever.
Right.
And I reject it kind of as one, but it is like part of my life, and like that, what you heard in that song was all like true. So it's like, I realized that like by keeping it real, like you said, the listener is gonna appreciate it more because they're not gonna feel like this person's just, you know, talking. Right. And when you do that,
shoes and stuff, and relate as well when it feels that natural.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to relate. That's the thing too. And then like music selection wise and stuff, I realized before I was like picking a beat to rap to it rather than just listening to beats and waiting for the ones that would be like telling me you need to rap to this. And once I made that change, everything sounds better. Everything is just more on point because of that, because it's very much more natural. I put it to like, I do a lot of like train of thought, like kind of just like connecting words and phrases and meanings and stuff like that, and throwing them all together and like making metaphors with certain stuff. Like certain stuff I say, like we have a song on the Scumlords. Like, I'm a big Transformers fan. Okay, so this is like kind of what I'm talking about. Sometimes I go over people's heads with my references, but I'm like, I was like, call me Scourge and these my sweeps, because Scourge is a Transformer. He's a bad guy, and he has his own little mini army called the Sweeps. I was like, be Liam Neeson, get him on the horn, no longer breathe. Like, I'm saying call it my army, and you know what I mean? Like but you don't know that necessarily off top. You got to kind of listen and like really get my metaphors and like get the references like Brad was saying. And if you don't, sometimes you're like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Right.
But that's like, to me, back in the day when I would listen to hip hop and I'd be like, what is he talking about? Let me go look that up and figure out what he's saying, you know? And that's like part of the fun for me. It's like a Rubik's Cube, but in like musical form. And I feel like ever since I've embraced that, like my music has gone up a notch, and like everything about it, my cadence, flow, all that. It's no more second guessing stuff so much. If I feel like I don't want to rap on it, I just don't. I don't care. I'm not doing it. Like, it's just why? So I can put out something I'm not proud of and just not sound good on it. What's the point of that?
Right.
You know?
That's a really good point, because back in the day we used to get the liner notes. You used to be able to read the lyrics. You used to be able to go through and decipher all that sort of stuff, and we don't tend to get that in this day and age. And it's good to be able to have. That's why these sorts of conversations and so forth, this artist insight, is really fantastic, because it actually gives the hip hop listeners. And I had a back and forth with Weapon ESP about all these baseball references and so forth. Just little things.
Nice. That's my guy. Weapon's dope.
Yeah, and it makes the listening experience just so much more fulfilling when you get
we
to
used
get
to read those.
There we go.
Liner notes. We actually cared who made the tracks. Like,
Right.
oh, who wrote that? Who
produced that? Who did this?
Yep.
Yeah.
What's that sample?
I was reading that shit.
Oh yeah, I used to love it. I just got one more for Shar before. Sorry to steal your limelight there, Brad, but I remember it's probably 8 or 9 months ago when I reviewed the dichotomy for Raw Side Hip Hop, and that time Shar said, and it stuck with me, because he said the album is basically the dichotomy of man in hip hop form, and it was about airing your dirty laundry in a therapeutic way.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So I just wanted to, are you still finding those avenues therapeutic at times, or do you just look at some projects? It's just a point in life where, I'm in my feelings, I can do that now, or I'm feeling this kind of way.
I kind of, like you said, it's where you're at, kind of. So it's like, I think the best albums probably are made in that manner, because you don't want to, like, I don't know, to me anyway, you probably don't want to like going, this is what I'm going to do. If you think you're going to make it, to me anyway, if you're going to make a really dope album, unless you're a genius on some level, I guess. But yeah, I think if you're in that space, for me anyway, when I'm in that space, it's like, it is my therapy. And then maybe if I'm not in that space, I'm just trying to show out. You know what I mean? It's like some days you just want to rap really well and be recognized for that. And other times it's like, okay, now I really want to say something. And it's like, I try to do a little bit of both. I try to keep it 50-50 on most projects now, because you don't want to do too much of either, because then as a whole project, it kind of gets stagnant pretty quick. And you're like, all right, I'm listening to the same subject matter over and over again. Like, I get it. You have lots of money. Good for you. Like, or whatever the subject may be, which we all love money. So if anybody wants to give me a ton, feel free.
Right.
I'm open to it. But
we all have PayPal.
Thinking about it. Yeah. We all have bills, but right. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. The place I'm at right now with this is like free. I don't want to do it. If I don't want to do it, I'm not doing it. Like I said, it's just not happening. I just want to rap and like rap extremely well and be recognized for that, and whatever else comes with it, great. And I just want to put out dope music that'll be around for a long time, hopefully, and gets recognized at some point. Whether I'm like Picasso and these dudes, or Van Gogh, and nobody knows until I'm dead, whatever. I'll have at least done my job.
Right. Now, I want to go back to what you said, you being the narrator. Like, how let me think of how I want to phrase this. You being the narrator, watching, like if it's just staring out a window, and what's the most subject matter that you like to touch on? Like, is there certain things that you would rather rap about, and certain things you'd rather just leave alone, or you just don't care?
I don't really care for the most part. It's like, I basically want to, if I'm going to do something that's been done before, I want to do it in a different, new way. So, right. Like, that's kind of the aim with everything, is like, I do like doing concept songs. I have a bunch from like over the time. I got one where I rap as a zombie and then as a survivor and back and forth on one of my older mixtapes. That's kind of crazy. I don't necessarily like the way I rap on it per se because it's old, but like the whole concept is dope and carried out well. But yeah, I mean, it's concept songs are dope. So like, I want to do as much of that as possible too, but you got to balance it. You know what I mean? Like, you being the narrator, I want to see like, it's not so much about what I want to see. It's like, to me, like, I don't know, you can call it what you want, but when I look at the world, I see like what's wrong with it. And I want to try to bring light to a lot of that stuff. Absolutely. And there's a lot of like stuff that's wrong that like we all on a daily basis have to like swallow up and just bury and never talk about. And sometimes I want to like kind of bring a little light to that too, you know? It's like all the stuff going on down nowadays with housing and stuff and all this like corporate greed and all the stuff that everybody feels like they can't do nothing about, all that stuff. It's really happening. Like, you got to be blind to not see all this stuff that's happening right now.
They keep talking inflation, but corporations got record profits right now.
Exactly. Why is everything so expensive?
Right.
I'm not setting the prices. The people selling it to you really aren't either. It's somebody's making that decision.
The corporations wouldn't be making more profit than at any other point in history. Like, they're making more now. So they're obviously
well, they all want to pay the shareholders. That's what's most important to them at this point in time is they want to make sure the shareholders are happy, and they're super greedy. So 1 billion isn't enough. They need 2.
Right.
Fuck your health insurance.
Yeah. Speaking of health insurance, Speak couldn't be here tonight with us. He wasn't feeling too hot, and so we got to give him a pass. And
yeah, we'll let this one slide.
Yeah, let him rest up and shit. You know.
Yeah,
I had him lined up.
Doing a lot of work behind the scenes and shit. So
yeah, he's definitely been busy. He's been mixing down that Scumlords a lot lately.
Yeah. I can't wait for that. Actually,
that's gonna be dope. I'm excited for that one. Mm-hmm. It's like another leveling up a moment to me, anyway.
Right, and it seems like that too. It's like it's gonna be big. You know, I feel it. So
I hope so, but I know it's dope. That's all that matters to me. I know I did my job. I know Speak did his. So
right now it's just up to the listener,
the reception. You know,
get out there and listen to it. So and
it's a dope project.
You know that'll happen. But
then we got EXP stuff coming too soon. JK's got his album coming soon. That's gonna be dope. Mr. J. Kinzer, sorry, he had to stop saying JK because stupid Spotify and all them couldn't figure it out. Right. J. Kinzer, his new stuff is dope. Fire. We got the EXP and DL album we've been working on. Hopefully that'll be getting figured out soon so we can drop that soon. That should be dope.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy summer.
Yeah, definitely. Lots and lots of music. And more to come.
Yeah, it's always dope. I want to move on to what's your issue. I actually want to do that segment today because I want to hear Mr. Elemental. What is your issue?
What is my issue?
Yeah, what's your issue, bro?
And okay, so this is new to me. So this segment is I just get to whatever my issue is. I just get to air my grievances.
Just air your grievances, rant.
Air my grievances. Yeah. Holy shit! Is it hip hop grievances? I would imagine.
Doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want.
Doesn't matter. Okay.
Doesn't matter. Open.
Open grievances. Oh damn, man, that's like opening Pandora's box. I could complain all day, but man, you put me on the spot with this one. All right. I guess my first grievance is stop being a dickhead, people. Just stop being a dickhead. Your opinion isn't truth. It isn't fact. It's just your opinion. Right. They're just words. That's all they are. Don't cry about words. Nobody cut you. You'll live. You're going to wake up tomorrow and be just fine. You know, just ignore people, basically. Get over it. Stop being a bitch. Stop crying about it. Deal with it. Move on. Like, all that. Like, just fuck it. Somebody wants to talk shit, let them talk shit. It says more about them than it does you. You know? And fuck social media. That ain't real. It's real. It'll get you slapped upside your head. But at the same time, it's not real. That's why you shouldn't talk like that on that motherfucker. Be smart.
Right. Sometimes people get a little wild and they forget that there's actually people on the other end of
Yeah,
what
and I'm
they're
sure
saying.
we've all been guilty of it too.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that goes for me too. I'm
Mhm.
sure some people read what I write sometimes and don't realize that like I operate on sarcasm like 95% of the time. So sometimes they're like, "Oh my god, what is he saying?" It's like, yeah, he probably doesn't mean it, but
No, I'll
you know,
literally
take it with
go
a grain
through
of salt.
I'll go through my Facebook memories each day and look back like 10, 15 years ago. I'm like, oh shit, I delete. Like that was
Yep.
fuck that.
Yep, definitely. I'm like, can you just auto delete everything that's older than a year ago? Like, just
Mhm.
get rid of it.
Yeah.
Be a
No,
much
'cause
better place.
people can't dig up dirt on you that way. You know, we need
Yeah,
we need all the
exactly.
dirt we can get for in 5 years
So I
to
just
throw
That's
back at you.
I mean, I don't know what you're gonna do about me. Just listen to some of my music. It's all right there.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you do wrong?
That's like
Just take a
that's like a
listen.
good thing though about like guys like you and guys like Speak and you just put yourself out there like fuck it, you know, like I'm gonna say
Yeah,
what
I
I
mean,
want to
somebody's
say
got to
and
do
you
it.
can just come back at me and whatever, you know.
Well,
So
it's like all the shit I grew up on was like about being authentic and like authentic to yourself. So like the idea that people pretend to be somebody else is kind of weird to me. It's corny to me.
it
You know what I
is.
mean? Along with a lot of stuff that's corny nowadays, like all the weird flexes people do on like Facebook and on social media to like look cool. And I'm just like, wow, you look like the biggest cornball ever right now. It's like, you think that's cool. I think you look like a clown.
Right.
It's the dichotomy of man right there.
There you go. Brutus, you got anything else?
Now, I want to elaborate on that a little bit because I love it. Because you know, hip hop essentially is just raw and authentic. But on social media now, everything is so carefully curated and crafted and worked in a way to send a particular message, or all the rough edges are smoothed off. Everything's you're this, that, and the other. It's interesting because essentially I'm over here in Australia, so without social media we have a real problem if we can't connect, but then we also have the problem that people curate their online content so much that you don't know what's real anymore. And that's where these types of conversations, as opposed to a text-based exchange or whatever else, are fantastic because you get context which you don't get online, and you actually get that authenticity and you get to have that discussion. What I will say though is Brad, and we've been talking through some of the GOAT topics in hip hop lifers in the group, and that's been fantastic because people have had opinions. All right, and their opinions, we all know that, fuck Rolling Stone, whatever else. We know these are all subjective opinions with no criteria or your own criteria, so it can mean anything to you. The one thing I notice in that group is that we're also professional. We're also courteous. We're real.
Yeah.
You can have your favorite. Your best doesn't have to, trump someone else's best. It's not a competition, and you learn a lot about people, and you learn a lot about where they're at by the way that they handle those conversations.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was easy for me too, that one, because it's like the same for me. Objectively, I think Nas is the best ever. And to me, he's definitely the best ever personally. But when I remove myself out of the equation, I'm like, damn, all these quote unquote stats tell me that it's a three. I would look at it like as a 3-man race, ultimately, between begrudgingly Eminem, because I'm not really the hugest fan myself, but you can't deny everything, Saying Jay-Z would be in that conversation, and then Nas. And to me, musically relevant for the last 5-6 years, Nas is there, where Jay isn't, because he hasn't come out with anything since 444, and then M has, but to varying results. So to me, when you pile everything else up, they're almost all tied. They're almost all billionaires at this point, from all their different business endeavors and all that stuff. So if you're looking at it a business standpoint, they're all pretty much on that same tier. If you look at it as hit-wise, I would say hit-wise, J and M probably got Nas beat in the hit category, but not great song category. And then when you stack up recent relevancy, I mean, the last 3 Nas albums to me are fire. Like, dope as all hell, especially Magic. That was like out of nowhere. Thank you, Merry Christmas, for real, because that shit was stop beginning to end dope. So to me, I think objectively he may win. If not, it's like a two-way tie between him and Jay-Z maybe. But to me, I also haven't liked much Jay-Z since probably Blueprint 3. Didn't even like that much since then. So, but that's me. Big fan otherwise.
Right.
You can't really be wrong.
Right. It's all subjective.
You got G-Raps and Rakims, and it goes. The list goes on and on. You know, Underground, GOAT, Sean Price, anyone like?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. You could break it down to subgenres and regions and countries. You can break it down to like the.
But that's the cool thing about
common
it,
denominator. So
that's how you know it's hip hop heads, because if they weren't hip hop heads, they wouldn't know those little things and intricacies and differences between, like, say, a great concept album like the autobiography of Kirk Jones by Sticky Fingers, or A Prince Among Thieves by Prince Paul, or even like the first Gravediggers album was kind of a concept album if you really listen to it. One of a kind, like first of a kind horrorcore album, on and on, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the dope thing, especially about that group, is most of the time we keep it civil in there,
right?
And people have some knowledge. Once in a while, somebody you're just like, oh man, like we're gonna learn you today,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But you do it respectfully, you know.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and there's no reason why you can't be respectful online, and you don't have to attack people. And as soon as we start seeing that bullshit, you're getting the boot, you know, because there's no.
You save that for assholes who yell shit in the front row at shows that Brad Baily throws.
Right, exactly. Well, Hip Hop Life is those. Brad Baily doesn't shows. Brad Baily shows.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Sorry.
That's
right. You were hosting. You were on hosting duties.
I'd have like 3 people in there, just all shit faced. So.
Yeah. Shout out to Jay Kinzer from stopping me from slapping the shit out of that dude and ruining your show.
There you go.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
He'd be a very happy man with Boston's win the other day, too. Game 3 win. So,
absolutely.
Quickly, while we're on that, Shar, what do you reckon is the best concept album of all time?
If you're being really strict, and we're just talking hip hop.
Well, it sort of leads. I guess sometimes we talk other albums, but
I'll stick to hip hop. To me, my favorite probably is Black Trash, the autobiography of Kirk Jones. Just the whole structure of it and how it flows. He's like talking to God at one point, and like just a lot of crazy metaphors and deep stuff in that. But then you can also, like, is it the Chronic, the concept album? Does that count? Because if that does, then I can't think that trumps pretty much everything that you could possibly throw at it. Maybe not 2001, depending on your preferences, but I mean,
what about Delton 3030 or Dr. Octagonacologist?
Those are a little on the weirder side for me. My taste.
Yeah, no, they are definitely.
I do own a copy of Dr. Octagonacologist. I can't even say it, but yeah, I got that. I even had the instrumental CD back in the day just to rap to. Blue Flowers. Like, there's some weird stuff on that. But the beats were cool. It was pretty cool. But for me, Black Trash would probably be the number one, I would think, if I'm being really strict, just based on like the song concepts, because almost every song on it was a concept song too.
Right.
That tell the whole story, and it was dope.
Cool.
So I think that would be it for me, definitely.
What about you, Brad? What do you got?
So that's a tough question. It really is. I'm going to go with something that's recent that I'm liking right now, and that's Lou Chen's album, The AA Meeting. That's from the beginning to end. That's a dope-ass concept album telling the story from this guy that's super successful to the end of his life. And I think he hit a lot of good points on that one. And there's a lot of dope tracks, and he spits a lot of fire bars on that shit. So I think I'm going to go with that one.
Dope.
Brutus, you got one?
Mine has always been A Prince Among Thieves. It was for me. It was just audio cinema. It was crazy. I ended up with 3 copies of it because I lost them and whatever else. But it's just one that was, one of the first ones for me that really painted such a vivid picture that you could feel it. You were in it.
I love the Big Daddy Kane song on that. Oh my god!
Oh,
the whole thing from start to finish.
Yeah, the whole thing. That album's great.
It's amazing. But so yeah, that's probably my all-time. I think there's been a couple of recent ones that have been done really well.
Is 13 Feral Monk, is that considered a concept album?
That's a good question.
Because if so,
maybe
that would be real high for me. But
yeah,
even War might be too.
And so it's so hard to even pin down like a concept album too. Because you have all these different factors that can go into that. It's like it's so the great thing about music, it's a great thing about hip hop is that there's so many different elements that can go into it. And it's like baking a cake, you know? You got all these fucking ingredients that you throw together and you're gonna come out with different flavors if you have different ingredients. So it's one thing you gotta love.
Dope thing. It's like everything you experience recycled back into music. As an artist, anyway, from my point of view, it's like everything I hear and see and experience, all of it just like gets regurgitated back out in music. That's why it's a bunch of random shit sometimes, because that's just how my brain works. ADD.
Because Marco Polo did Brooklyn Story, and that was a fantastic one too. That was sort of recent. And I don't know whether you've heard of Thought Provoker, but there was one, I think it was last year, might have been more. But Thought Provoker did one called Can I Rap For You? And that was a concept album, something like 30 tracks. And it was an indie artist, struggling to get a go. But if you haven't heard that one, that's another really, really good album.
I'm going to have to check that one out.
Check that out.
Yeah, I'll put the link in Lifers, but it's Thought Provoker, Can I Rap For You? And it's really good. It's really good. The guy can spit, and I guess it touches on things that are really real. You know, indie artists, panhandling, busking, all that sort of stuff. It's a really dope album.
Nice. I'll have to check that out. Oh yeah.
I got a question for you. What would you be if you weren't a rapper? What would you want to do?
Fuck. Play ball. Yeah. Pick one. Anyone. Tyson, Jordan, Jackson, Action. Something like that. Because I'm definitely not, I don't know. I think music is probably what's best for me to do. I'm not always the easiest to get along with. I'm passionate about whatever I'm doing sometimes and hard-headed sometimes. So you can ask JK. I'm not always the easiest to deal with. But Kinzer will definitely tell you that. But, that's kind of the beauty of it. Me and him have a crazy, working relationship with EXP and stuff like that over the years and dealing with different situations and whatnot. It's like sometimes nothing needs to be said type of thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because we're both already, on it. So, yeah, that's interesting. Definitely for sure.
Now, you're a collector. I know. I can see behind it. What's your holy grail?
My holy grail? Oof. Probably the USS Flag. The G.I. Joe aircraft carrier. If I had an extra room to just put that in, that's the ultimate thing. But we're talking that's probably goes for $5,000-$6,000 now, and it's 7 feet long. So you can imagine, the jets for it alone are this big. And I'm a grown man who needs that, but it was fucking cool when I was a kid, and that's the one. Yeah, definitely. But that's good luck convincing your girlfriend to let you buy that.
Yeah.
So I need this room and about $6,000 for a toy.
Yeah, exactly. You'll be out. But what's your holy grail? What's your grail that you have in your collection now? What's your favorite piece?
Well, that's always evolving. I think lately has been probably Castle Grayskull from Masters of the Universe, and then that collection because they're doing this new it's called the Origins, but they look like the ones from when I was a kid, but they're actually posable now instead of just being stiff. Can't stand up, all that stuff. So they're really cool because they look the same, but they're cooler because they can actually stand, for instance.
Right.
So I've been I've been into that lately. That's been my main thing. But Transformers has always been a huge thing too. My favorite thing lately is probably Starscream with his from Transformers the movie, from the animated movie from '86, from when right before Megatron gets like reincarnated as Galvatron essentially, and he shows up and just murders Starscream like 10 seconds later and turns him into dust. It was dope. And they came out with like a figure with a cape and shit, like looks just like him right before he dies. So it's dope. That's like my favorite lately, probably.
That's dope.
Yeah. That's always been my shit though. That's like my favorite movie ever. Watched that so many times. So many times. Me and my boy Ryan, who was my roommate back in the day, it was like, what are we doing? We ain't got nothing to do. All right, put Transformers on. Like just have it going at all times.
What do you think about the Michael Bay movies?
Oh God, you had to go there. The first one was all right, and then they just like went pretty much downhill and then uphill a tiny bit and then back downhill, and then it was just a shit show. No consistency in storytelling or like characters or any of that stuff. It was like you never knew what next movie they'd just be like, oh, here's a new character. You're supposed to pretend like you never seen this guy before. Like made no sense.
Yeah,
but shit blew up.
I hear they're working on doing it over again.
Yeah, supposedly. We'll see.
Yeah, hopefully they actually do it justice this time because
they
grew up on all that shit. So
they kind of need to treat the Transformers themselves like actual characters and write them like they're actual characters. That would probably help. And embrace the more like space opera side of the franchise from the later years and kind of leave Earth a little bit and go more into their lore and stuff like that. That would probably be better.
That'd be interesting. I would definitely watch that.
They've covered everything else. I mean, yeah, we get it. They transform on Earth and stuff, and we don't like it. People chase them. Like, okay. And then, like, let's see why this is happening. Maybe something, anything really at this point. They've kind of messed this whole thing up. But Michael Bay, things explode.
Yeah, things blow up and things crash and
and Pretty Women. Can't forget the Pretty Woman.
Yeah, throw
even if she has toe thumbs.
Yeah, toe thumbs. But so what else you got going up besides Animal Embassy XP? What else going
on? So let me think. We got Scumlord's joint. Dastardly Grin 2 is coming like right after that. That's actually being mixed down now. That's all recorded and done. Putting that out. I'm working on an album with Bo Fat. That's coming out crazy. This is like my favorite stuff so far, by far. He did one of the joints on the Scumlords project too, actually. So the Scumlords joint, it was Bo Fat. BC did the first single. I think who else? Improv did a couple joints off of that, and I want to say Prometheus did one. Yeah. I think he did the last one. I think he's going to be on the last song too as well. So that's who did the production on that. But yeah, I'm doing a whole album with both that. It's crazy. I had like 3 tracks in so far, not completed, but like started and everything. Got a couple features locked in already that are dope. I'm not going to get too much into that right now, but good features. And it's coming out nuts. I can't wait to drop that. And then I got some other stuff coming up behind that I'm not really ready to talk about or name drop yet because I don't want to jinx anything. But definitely some out there shit. I'll say that much. Some spacey shit, and I'll leave it at that without dropping too many big hints about it. But yeah, lots of shit coming down the pipeline. And then, like I said, the EXP and DL project, we're going to hopefully finish that up soon, get that ready to drop. Possibly talk about getting another EXP album started soon. I know Heavy's back rapping again, which is dope. He came out to the show and made his first appearance back at the show in a few years, which is awesome. My guy, yeah, he killed it, especially for the layoff and everything. Murdered it.
No ring rust.
Yeah, no, he killed that. GI is working on a project. I've been recording him here and there, getting that started with him. Dirt is going to be working on something as well, Dirt Russell. So EXP's got a bunch of stuff. And Jay Kinzer was on here recently. I'm sure he got you updated on all his stuff that's been in the works and coming out. He's always busy. That's my guy. Me and him are always, it's like a race with me and him. Who's gonna drop first? Who's doing next? But it's dope. It's dope. That's my guy. And he's been killing it lately.
Yeah, yes.
He's another one too, where it's like I can see the evolution and how he gets better and better as time goes by, and that's dope. As his friend, as his group member, and as somebody who would listen to his music. that's what you want to see. Because then I'm like, all right, well, so what's next? Where you going with this? You know, it's exciting. But yeah, lots and lots of shit. And then more and more after that, because I ain't stopping. You're gonna have to put me in the ground, probably. I'll be rapping at 70. Like,
yeah, up in the nursing home, doing
yep.
it.
Senile, talking about misogynistic bullshit in a wheelchair, getting slapped by the nurse.
Right.
Like, I'm not even directing it at you. It's just habit.
Right. You got the old ladies throwing their dentures at you and shit. You'll be fucking living life.
She's gonna be like, you scumbag. I'm like, no, scum lord.
Right.
Lord of the scum. Run this shit.
I think we covered a lot of stuff tonight. I think we're gonna start to wrap this hair up.
Yeah, you should always wrap it up, Brad.
Yeah, right.
Don't want to catch something,
bro. I don't want to catch something. I don't need no little me's running around this fucking joint. But anyway, we want to thank you so much.
Yeah, anytime.
Thank you, Brutus. Thank you, Anthony. We got a show coming up July 3rd.
Yes,
Child
we do.
Elemental is going to be there with EXP, Grind Wave, Genosha. It's going to be a wild night. It's going to be the last HHL show for the summer. A lot of hip hop going on that night.
Yeah, real hip hop too. Good shit.
Yeah, and killed it the other night. That shit was dope. But,
yeah, thank you. That was a good time. I had fun.
Yeah, definitely. I want to thank you again for coming on out. Everybody, keep an eye out for Scumlords. Keep an eye out for all his projects. We're going to be sharing that shit on HHL and fucking pushing. So it's what we do.
I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, we appreciate you.
Animal Embassy, EXP.
I say it all the time. We wouldn't be shit without the artists themselves. Because what would we be doing? We'd be just fucking talking about nothing.
I'll tell you on behalf of EXP and everybody that fucks with me, we all appreciate what you guys have been doing. All that. Y'all been killing it. Keep doing what you've been doing. Appreciate all the feedback, all the love, everything. Brutus as well, Anthony.
Oh, yeah. Raw side is a big deal. So,
yeah, absolutely.
2 words too. Just like you get your hyphen, he gets his 2 words.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah, it's 2 words.
4 words, yeah, but raw side is 2 words.
Right, you got to split it. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
He went the space route. I went hyphen.
Yeah, there you go. But all right, fellas, I want to thank you guys again. Great episode. Shar, I'll talk to you soon. Brutus, I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good night. Thank you, Life. Well. Doing time for the books.
Right,
EXP bitches.
EXP, AEXP bitches.
That's right. AEXP bitches.
All right.
Later.